So I just want to talk for a moment about the connection, or just a connection between the fly stuff that I've been talking about in conjunction to how that translates to the body. Because you might be saying, okay, well, you're a page that just is, massage and body work. Well, why are you talking about fly spray and natural things and health? Because take my word for it. I hope that you research it. But the mind, body, spiritual, and emotional connection is very real for us. And then that also translates over to our horses. So if our horses are, we do our best, or I do my best, I should say, to mimic that wild horse outline, right? But the fact is that even the wild horses can have issues, and they might benefit from corrective shoeing for conformational issues or corrective trimming, and they might not be able to have access based on their location to maybe certain herbs that might help them internally for what they need. And so I'm not saying that just because they're a wild horse, they're perfect, and they are, depending on the situation, at an advantage or a disadvantage. And so are our domesticated horses, based on what we're able to provide for them and the environment and so on and so forth. And you get my point. So with a horse that is, let's just stick to the vein of what I've been chatting about this week and sharing about, which is the fly spray and the ticks and the bugs, and those things are irritants. And I'm not going to recap what I put in another video, which is how the horse's internal health reflects that of external health, and whether or not bugs and parasites are attracted to that horse or not. So there's a whole aspect and section of a horse being healthy internally and able to fight off those external things like the bugs and ticks and things we're talking about. So we can do all these things topically, right? Which is great, and they're a repellent. But at the root, we're just going to be fighting a lost cause if we're not dealing with the internal side as well. So I'll link those videos, and you can go and watch those, because I chatted about that already, and I've been sharing about that. But let's just talk about for a moment our horses. We see when the heat kicks up, they might be standing by their water tank. They're not moving a lot during the mid heat of the day, and they are swishing their tails and stomping their legs. They're getting bit, they're being tolerable. They might seem a little grumpier, okay? And I'm giving you my experience, my horses I've observed of clients. They're irritated. They might be a little bit quicker to get angry. They might be more irritable with their pasture mates. And these are things that I observe. But why is that? What changed other than the fact that there are bugs that are bothering them? All right. And I think this is so cool, because I could go off on different bunny trails as far as this being an analogy for other things in life of what causes us irritations. But let's bring it back to the horse and what we're talking about. And so we see that, and it may come out in irritability towards you as the owner, irritability towards the pasture mates, grumpiness. And think about when you're irritated or something's bothering you, whether you know what is bothering you or not, and you acknowledge that and you're aware of your body, then you might find yourself being irritated. You don't want anybody touching you. You don't want anybody bothering you. You just want to be left alone. When you don't feel well, whatever that is, bugs or otherwise, we just want to be left alone. I just want to be left alone. I need my space. And our horses are trying to tell us the same thing. And sometimes we don't realize, like, oh, wow, you don't seem like you want to go on your trail ride today. You don't want to be cinched up today. You're just irritable, and you're biting me and nipping me and all these things. And why are you being grumpy? I can tell, watching Sis and Glenda in the pasture, my horses, I can tell when Glenda is irritated and bothered and needs body work, because she takes it out on Sis, and I'm like, Sis, just, get back at her. Don't let her treat you that way. But there's that hierarchy, there's that understanding, and then that in turn stresses Sis out. And it's a domino effect. And I know how stress reacts in Sis's body and what she's more prone to. And so there's this whole thing of evaluating and watching our horses and our herds, and then being able to see that in ourselves and say, all right, are we a part of this? Are we causing our horses stress? Am I causing my horse stress? And there's so many different facets to look at. But in the area of these bugs and this irritation, when our horses are expressing that, we then have to step back as the owners and say, okay, am I allowing my horse to express this? Am I not? Am I seeing what the bothersome factor is? What can I do to help support them both internally and externally through this process and work through it? And I think that's the beautiful thing that I'm seeing moving into equine body work and then owner body work and working with people, horse owners and non-horse owners alike, is that I'm able to see within myself, I'm able to discern with other people, and they're coming to the realization factor of areas that they have not been aware in of their own body and areas that they might need growth in or revelation, and how that has translated over to their horse. And if, for example, I don't allow myself grace in a situation to feel what I'm feeling, and I shove down my feelings, and I, quote, put it behind me, and I, quote, bite back my words, and I, quote, bite my tongue. If I do all these things for myself, the chances that I'm going to have grace for my horse to express itself when it is feeling certain ways is probably going to be less. I'm probably going to only allow my horse as much grace as I allow myself. And that translates to other things. I'm probably only going to allow my kids as much grace as I allow myself. And we tend to, that's called projection, where we're projecting our feelings onto someone or something. And that's not always correct. And so it's this beautiful unfolding process that I am seeing. People are asking me at this point of where I'm at, is it easier working on horses or people? And the answer is just yes. There's different variations of both. And I'm loving it. Horses never lie. The only time that they lie is when their owners make them lie. And so, because of that, horses can be both very easy to read and then also difficult. It's hard for me to read the horse when the owner is there in front of them and scratching their face and dancing around and bringing their kids up and letting the kids touch the horse while I'm touching the horse. It's a time where we're all there and right, we want to love on our horse. Our horse is getting some love. But I'm not able to fully read and absorb and be in that moment as the therapist to see what's going on. And I may communicate with the owners about that and say, hey, I'm not able to read, or pretend I pretend I'm talking to the horse. Hey, leave your mommy alone. Because sometimes the horses are just looking for a treat and a handout. And there's a lot of factors that go into that. So it is both easy and difficult to work on horses, and then it's both easy and difficult to work on people. We have our mind, and our mind gets in the way of our body, because there are moments and instances where I know and feel and can sense, I've been doing this long enough, at least with horses, that transitioning into people is very rewarding. But I'm able to see where our body, my body, I've been even in this situation, I'll bring it to me every time, is that when I am on the table and I'm getting body work done, I can feel where my body may want to stretch, for example, and I may want to stretch my arm out, I may want to yawn, I may want to take a deep breath and release that, and my mind and brain goes, you can't do that, you can't let that go, you can't let this person that's working on you see how vulnerable you are. And our horses do the same thing. Because my body as the therapist is inviting them and holding that safe space and saying, okay, you can release with me. I'm here for you. And the horse is looking to that person that's their owner all the time, if the owner's there and has a big influence over them. And sometimes that can stand in the way because the horse is going, is this okay? Can I do this? Can I please release? Because every time I paw, you reprimand me, and I'm just trying to tell you I'm stressed out. And that's the hard part as the therapist, and I get emotional about it because I care about the horses and I care about you. And I can only do what your horse will allow me to do in a session, and I can also only do what you will allow me to do in a session. And that goes for whether I'm just working on you or I'm working on your horse, because you also play a role in that. And so I say all of this because awareness is something I'm going to be talking about more. I've mentioned before I'm doing a series, and I fully believe I think I'm going to be doing it through text. So you need to sign up for the horse texts, because it's important information that a lot can be missed on social media. And I'm going to put it on the website, either in blog format, and it's going to be texted out so that you can go and read that, whether you're on social media or not. And I'm going to put this on YouTube also, because not everyone's on Facebook. That can be both a good thing and a bad thing. So I say all of this because it all goes together. Give yourself grace today. Give your horse grace today. Allow them to express themselves. And there's reason, right? We can tell when our horse is pushing the buttons, We can tell when our kids are pushing our buttons. We can tell when, okay, you're having an off day. What's going on today? What's affecting you today? What am I thinking about in this moment that's making me clench my jaw? What am I doing in this moment that's making me feel anxious? If we pause and are aware of ourselves, we're going to be able to pause and be aware of our horses. And then I said in the last podcast, and I'll say it again, that the biggest changes I've seen in my horses are when the biggest changes have first taken place in me. Willingness is another thing next to awareness. We have to be willing to do this work. We have to be willing to heal. We have to be willing to explore, and we have to be willing to be wrong. Being willing to be wrong means laying that pride down and saying, you know what? I used to think this way. I was taught this way. It was ingrained in me this way. I could be wrong. And you may not be wrong, and you may feel in your heart that you're not wrong, or know that you're not wrong. But being open to being wrong and correction is what brings about humbleness and that reduction of pride, and your horses can sense that, whether it's you or them or both together. And that's going to be a big goal of mine in moving forward in the work that I'm doing, is to bring about both harmony and balance and homeostasis to horse and rider together, because I would love to take a session where we take the afternoon and you and your horse are going to ride together. Then we're going to do body work together. Then you're going to ride again or work together again. You're going to see the difference that you feel, not only in yourself, but then the difference you feel in your horse, and how that helps bring you closer together. So thank you for tuning in today. Thank you for listening to my heart in this matter, and you have a blessed day. Please DM me with any questions, and I will get back to you when I can. And again, I'm going to put this up on YouTube. I'm going to put it onto Facebook. And if you want to sign up for the horse texts that I mentioned, text the word horses, just the word horses, nothing else, to 931-269-3400, and my Autobot will send you back a reply and get you tagged into that. Make sure you fill out your card with your name and information. I don't save numbers that don't have a name attached. Those get deleted, and I will make sure that you're plugged into the Horsey texts when some of the series come out that I'm going to be doing. Have a great day.